Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 16mm Film Crew. I'm Cindy.
And I'm Dale.
You can watch us on YouTube. You can like and comment on our YouTube videos and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can listen to us everywhere podcasts are found at 16mm Film Crew Podcast. And you can visit us on our website at www.16mmfilmcrew.com. This week, we watched The Outrun, directed by Nora Feinstead. Finkstead. It's German. And starring Saoirse Ronan and Papa Iestu. Is it Estu?
I
Do you
I
know?
guess no. I mean, because these are largely, yeah, I cannot pronounce it. I don't want to pronounce it wrong either.
Okay. Well, yes. So here is the synopsis. After living life on the edge in London, Rona attempts to come to terms with her troubled past. She returns to the wild beauty of Scotland's Orkney Islands, where she grew up, hoping to heal. So, Dale, what are your thoughts about this film?
Um, I love the movie. I mean, even though of course the non-linear style of it can be a bit frenetic to some people, but I do think it bodes well in the story they're telling. I do think when there's a synergy between the style of editing a movie uses, and it's also another tool to depict what the character is going through. Because you could tell she's in the midst of dealing with alcoholism, an emotional breakdown, dealing with whatever issues she's having resolved from her father. So that editing style aids in telling that story because you kind of can't tell what's happening until you really sit down there and think about it, which is usually also one of the therapeutic techniques when you're in these situations. Your therapist kind of wants you to focus on think about why things felt a certain way, why you did a certain thing. So that editing really helps sell that concept home for me. But yeah, I loved it. Like it's a harrowing tale. It's literally watching somebody like say this all the time with these directors and the stories they're telling about their issues themselves. Is somebody going through the whole therapeutic experience and the process, the drawbacks, the failures, and the eventual, overcoming of it at the end.
Hmm. Yeah, this was hard for me to watch, not because it wasn't good, like it was. It's just that like it was a very personal, like it hit home, it hit very close to home for me, but also for I feel like anyone who's dealt with addiction or has a family member or a loved one who is dealing with addiction. Yeah, it's just like it's very hard to watch, but like, and so I was like, I didn't really want to watch it, but Saoirse is my queen, so I had to watch it, and she's fantastic in this. Like, I'll get to her performance a little bit later, but like, I watched it for her because I was like, the subject matter is like so delicate. But I also think that the way that they did it was just really honest. I know that it's based on a book, and the woman who wrote the book, Amy, I think her name is, I also wrote the script or was involved in the writing of the story or the screenplay. So, it was very much like a direct kind of thing. Like the character Rona is the author who wrote the book, basically. And so that was good because it just I don't know. I feel like when you're people are playing like people who are addicts, it can come off like very performative. Like they're doing like a lot of like things that just feel like, oh, they're just putting on something like I don't know. It's not rare, but it isn't, I don't think, totally commonplace, especially when it comes to alcoholism, because I feel like it usually gets played off as a joke.
Yeah.
So, um, it is super rare, I think, sometimes to find performances that feel authentic to that kind of experience. And I think that this was definitely one of them. I feel like there is something really hard about like alcoholism specifically, just because it's like everywhere and it's so normalized. So it's like very difficult, like to like try to, stay sober because it literally is everywhere. And it's the whole industry that's built in terms of like trying to sell people on like drinking and making it look glamorous and making it look cool. So it's like very difficult for anyone who's like dealing with that. My heart goes out to anyone who is dealing with it or has dealt with it. Um, and for the character, I feel like the nonlinear way that the story is told, I feel like the best way that they were able to like distinguish different periods of time was her hair. Like her
Yeah.
hair was very much a signal. Her hair color was very much a signal of like where she was in her progression, which I thought was like a really cool way to kind of, even though you're moving around in time, like it does kind of focus you or place you in a specific time in her life. And that, recovery is real. Like you don't, I think one of the hardest scenes for me to watch was when she goes to the AA meeting and then immediately relapses. And then that little title card at that next scene where it's just like day zero. Like you literally have to start
Hmm.
again like from the bottom. Like that was really hard. I was like, damn, because she had gotten like 100 and something days sober, and then it's just like it's not like a pause and then you can start again. It's literally you're starting again from
All
zero.
over, yeah. Yeah.
And that was really hard to watch. And all of the issues with her dad who had bipolar, like it was just like this is so intense. Like in the fact that like this happens to people all over the world in our country every single day and never seems like there's enough like resources or help for those people. It just really it's heartbreaking. But I do think that the hope in it does come from like not that okay one day she's magically cured and like
Hmm.
everything's fine, but that she got to a place where she was like okay I think I can start to do something new, like I can move towards a different thing, like I have something to move forward with, like it's not like this is the end for me. And I'm still going to struggle and it's still going to be hard, and like the guy says in the movie like it doesn't get easier, it just gets less hard. And
Hmm.
it's like that is the hopeful part. Not that everything's fixed, but that like you can get to a place of peace. I think that's what the movie's really saying. I thought that was really, really wonderful and like timely. I think we all need stories like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this story because and it's really funny that we decided to watch this in like the past couple days. Like me personally, like on a personal level, like I suffer from major depression disorder. Like that's just something I deal with, like whatever. Like there are good days, bad days, just like you said, with dealing with depression and stuff. There are days where it's easy, some days where it's hard. And and it reminded me of just that whole process of choosing to get help for myself with my issues. Like she just goes to person and she just like literally like she self-admitted, I self-admitted, and she was like, I just know I need help. You're just at that
Hmm.
low point where something's not right and you get so. And it's also funny because I know me personally, and getting older, you realize these kind of issues, just addiction and depression, all that stuff, is very prevalent. Like, and we all act like we're the only ones going through stuff. And like last couple of years with friends, and my friends like, yeah, I got depression, all that stuff. Like, and they're like saying I don't want to go to a therapist, and I was like, even in this, she's doesn't really want to go to therapy, but I know for me, I found help in doing group stuff, and she goes to group stuff. Like this movie, like for me, was very relatable on a personal level, where to the point where she's like, all right, I have to leave my environment, like. I've had to leave my environments. I've had to replace certain hobbies. You know, I found like almost sort of like drinking was a thing for me when I was in a depressive state. I've had to like cut that out like drastically. If you like come to the house, I have like bottles of water all around my desk all the time,
Hmm.
drinking to avoid all that stuff. But this movie is like so relatable, and I hope anybody who's dealing with any of these problems, they watch it and realize, oh, it's hopefully if they don't know anybody personally dealing with these struggles, they at least see this and know that there is some kind of hope. Because at the end, like after like she leaves and goes to with the bird conservatory thing, and she's there for like
Hmm.
X amount of months. At the end, she's like, "I've not heard this damn bird that I'm supposed to be protecting and looking
Yeah.
for." And at the end, she finds it, and that's like, very thematic of her finding her hope, where at the end of the movie where she's like scared of going swimming in the water. She finds that she's refreshed. Like there's a as the story progressed through the editing, there you see her becoming more and more alive in
Yeah.
a way. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was a big part of it because she at some point says, I don't know how to feel happy, like, I don't without, drinking.
Hmm.
And it's like, wow, it's because I think that's really at the root of it. It's like, how do you find joy when, like, yes, you're sober, but like
Hmm.
the thing that kind of took away all of those bad feelings, you can't do anymore.
Hmm.
So it's like, okay, so how do you replace that? How do you find good things, positive things in your life to like? And I think that the setting of this movie is really cool and interesting because she really isn't like in the middle of nowhere. Like she had to like take herself out to the middle of nowhere and kind of like restart again.
Yeah.
But also like she finds community over there. Like she finds a new passion. She wants to be a seaweed scientist. Like she finds different things, like the things that she needs to kind of fill her up. So the thing that she was using to fill herself up, which was alcohol, she's now replacing with positive things and good people and a new focus. Like that's really, to me, that was the most inspiring bit because it was like, yeah, I can imagine like when you go through trauma like that, like when you grow up in a household like that, you are just looking for anything to just not have to think about deal with it. And she's still dealing with her dad's issues. Like that is still a part of like her life as she's in recovery, which I thought was great. Like they didn't just like sideline that character in that storyline. Like they very
Hmm.
much were like, no, this is still a part of her life. Um, and the fact that she's finding that the fact that you can find other things to help you in your journey. Like she like blasts music in her house and dances around the house and like just does all these other like little things that seem like very simple and like maybe like if you're not in that situation you take it for granted. I feel like she embraces all of that and that's what kind of helps her heal. And I really thought that was particularly beautiful. Like the
Yeah.
fact that it's not like again, there was no massive big thing that happened that drastically changed everything for her. It's like just finding these little moments and just finding like good people who like understand you and like want you to heal and be better. It's just like really, it touched me. I was
Yeah.
touched.
And this is honestly, to me, it's not just her journey as well. Like she's watching like her dad with the bipolar thing, and she develops her own coping mechanism that she grows up with alcohol. Her father refusing to get the help he needs, and when
Mm,
he is forced to get help, he is pissed off at the world. Which some people, when they're forced to get help, they are pissed off at the world. And
yeah.
then her mother, like, also instead of trying to help solve the problems, she kind of ignores it and leans on religion to the point where her daughter comes home and people who the mother, I guess, assumes that are friends or the people that she confides in, you know, are gossiping about her daughter, which is a very prevalent thing. If you're in the church, people think you can lean on people when you need the emotional support, and later on they just end up gossiping your business. So like now, instead of one person that you confided in for help. Now 20 people know your business and are not using it for a positive thing. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, it's so true. That's what I'm saying. Like this movie is incredibly realistic. Like a lot of things that I saw in there, I was like, yeah, been through that,
Yeah.
experienced that, yep, saw that. Like it was like that's why it was hard to watch because I was like, oh my God, it's so true. Like
Yeah.
it's the moments, and I know Saoirse talked about this in an interview where she was like, you can go out with your friends and you're having a good time. It's like that one drink and you're having a good time. And then at some point, I think she calls it seeing red. It's like when you're not
Everything just
there anymore.
yep, yeah.
And you can see that progression in the film of just like how a fun night turns into her just being absolutely destructive. And those were like the hardest scenes to watch actually is not necessarily when she's drinking, but it was like when she hit that point
Mhm.
past like where she's not remembering either, like what's going on. So like the confrontation that her and her Papa have in the apartment when he's like throwing out the bottles of wine and stuff, and she's like crying and yelling and screaming, like you're trying to control me. Like all of that stuff was like very hard to watch, but also like incredible acting. Like Saoirse,
Yeah,
the woman you are, like she needs to win an Oscar for this. Like I don't I don't care. Like I'm putting it out there
yeah,
right now. Like first of all, she's been nominated like a bunch of times. Like come on, let's do this. But also like this performance was fantastic. Like it was easily one of the best performances I've seen all year. And I just think that like to do something like that is hard because it can so easy be like a caricature. Like it can be kind of goofy if you're not playing it like straight. I don't know. It's a very difficult role to try to do and do authentically. And I feel like she just killed it. Like even those like weird moments where she's like talking to herself because she has no friends. Like yes, like and then she's like trying to use her hands, and like she thinks she's like a conductor, like moving the
yeah,
waves and stuff. Like that stuff is incredible. Like where do you even come up with stuff like that? Like that's so good. And I just feel like it's her time. Like I feel like she paid her dues. She's been acting since she was a child. Like
yeah,
this role is fantastic. I just Saoirse Ronan needs to win an Oscar, and if not, like I am going to the Oscar committee, and we're gonna have words. We are going to fight.
yeah. Like their performance was wonderful. She's involved in this movie as a producer as well. The
Hmm.
stories, written by Nora Liprot, I guess, which also screenplay a movie, and she said it's a personal based on stuff. Like I'm really sad that this movie has not had a US release yet. It premiered at like Sundance, January just like January 19th. And then
Hmm.
it got released in the UK in September and is coming out in Germany in this coming November. No single acknowledgement of a UK release date. I mean, a US release date. That means it's only shot at an Oscar. Will most likely have to be with the whole international film. Which
I think it
sucks.
did have a US release.
Yeah,
It was
really.
it just wasn't playing where we were.
Yeah, true. Like it's one of
That's what
those. It's
that
one
was
of
the issue.
those.
Yeah.
One of
Hmm.
those limited release for like 2 weeks at
Yeah.
like
Hmm.
probably 8 theaters in LA, two in New York.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, which really sucks. So I think this movie would have been like right now is the time for these kind of. I don't mean like we talk a lot like the mid budget, the smaller budget
Yeah.
pictures. Like
Hmm.
I feel like they're a part of cinema that's really not acknowledged as much as it should be. So
Yeah, I agree. So hopefully it gets I don't know who I'm trying to think who was involved in it, like the production companies. Hopefully it will land on like Hulu or something like that so people can actually watch it because I do think that it's like really good and deserves to be watched. And I think Saoirse had said the same thing because she was talking about like I think the interviewer asked her about like what kind of movies she wants to do. And she was talking about how she wanted to do bigger films because she wants these movies to be seen. And I feel like Saoirse, who has always been in like the indie world, I think it's like it's a difficult situation because it seemed like, especially during the pandemic, that's when independent film really like came to the forefront of people's minds. But now that that's kind of dipped and we're back into this, franchise world that we're kind of living in right now, it is harder for those smaller films to be seen and like unless you're like involved in the film like cinematic spaces like you're not going to know about these movies. So it is like it's hard because I feel like a lot of actors who love the independent work because the characters like there's so much richness there. um but they're also just like, yeah, I want to do something big too. Like, and it's so true because it's like, these movies aren't being seen, and there are other actors who are doing these bigger films and also doing independent films, but those movies are getting seen. And I just feel like because that's where the film space seems to be moving. I
mm,
think that that's where actors also want to move. It's like we can do big things, and I think that like Oppenheimer and stuff like that, those were like really good examples of how you can do like a big film that's still has creativity, still has artistic integrity. So I just think that like it's not impossible. We just have to like do it.
yeah. Look, I don't know. Like this past year, the cast of Foe has been doing an amazing job. The movie might not have been that good, but
It
it,
wasn't, but they were good,
they were good
so
in it. Like Aaron Pierre, had one of the biggest films in Netflix. So he's not gonna be Green Lantern for
that's so cool.
DC.
I love that
You
for him.
know, Paul Mescal did this. Like All of Us Strangers. When watching this movie very much reminded me of All of Us Strangers. He's got the
Mm.
Gladiator coming out. Saoirse with this project. Those three. Those guys are like next up, like their careers, I think are gonna be amazing.
Yeah,
Well, especially
already.
especially with
Yeah.
Aaron Pierre now. He's getting more projects. But of course, Paul Mescal been consistent presence. Now he's getting the Gladiator. With Denzel, so he's getting that major box office push. Hopefully, Saoirse's been acting out of the three of them for a longer period. Hopefully, Saoirse gets the opportunity, like you said, with this movie, to do bigger, better work. There's nothing wrong being in the indie space, but I do think Saoirse is one of those actresses who deserves vehemently that big box office platform for everybody to see what she can do.
I think that she should. I mean, like the thing with Saoirse is like she's been doing this for so long that like
Yeah,
everyone has seen her movies. Like I know people watch The Lovely Bones. I watched it when I was a kid. Like Atonement. What's the movie? Lady Bird,
Lady
Little
Bird,
Women.
Little Women,
Like she's
yeah,
done bigger stuff, but I think she's like most known for doing independent films. Like would you ever see her doing something like a Gladiator? Probably not.
yeah,
But I think she should have the opportunity to do it because I think she would be amazing at it.
yeah,
Like it doesn't skill is skill. Like you can it doesn't matter like the budget. Like if you're talented, you're talented. So yeah, I definitely hope more people. I think she's doing Blitz. Blitz is coming out this year with my dude from 12 Years a Slave. What is his name?
Oh, Cheo?
No, the
Oh, Steve
director.
McQueen?
Yes.
Yeah,
That movie's coming out later. So
yeah,
like, and that's gonna be on Apple TV. So it's gonna be.
yeah,
So I just feel like we just gotta someone give her something else to. I think it's also like she's not older, but she's like she's 30 now. Like I think she has very much more clarity of like what I'm trying to do. Like if it's good and she likes it, then she'll take it. Like it's not we can't just give her anything. But like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm excited. I'm
yeah,
excited for her next chapter.
yeah.
And this was a great movie, so.
Yeah, great movie, great. I think,
Mhm.
like I said, it reminded me very much of All the Strangers. I
You
think.
know what it reminded me of? Beautiful Boy. Did you see that?
No, I did not.
Oh,
No, no, come on, don't just say oh.
oh,
Like it's just like.
beautiful, Beautiful Boy with Timothy Chalamet and Steve Carell,
Mhm.
which is also about addiction. And but it also focuses on the family side. So that the Steve Carell that it focuses on like being a member, being a family member of someone who is using.
Mhm.
Um, that one is like that's a very difficult because it's not alcohol, it's like hard drugs. So it's like,
Mhm.
oof, it's rough. But like to me did a fantastic job. He did so good in that. And so it reminded me very much of just like the authenticity of going
Yeah.
through that experience.
Yeah.
Those two things looked
Yeah.
very similar to me.
Yeah. I think that's part of the that feeling you get when you watch a good movie. I
Hmm.
think, and it's one of the things you can't describe, but I think authenticity and like I don't mean you can have a big box office set pieces, all the actions, your Michael Bay explosion, but there's something about the authenticity of actors' performances that really, no matter what the character is, that really sell the experience and make you feel that helps you in that feeling when you leave a movie like, okay, that movie was, it. So it's time for a bit of the news. It's looking like it's gonna be a busy, apparently spring for Tom Holland. Fresh off of an interview where he, debuted, I guess, his non-alcoholic beer, who he himself has also had, spoke about his issues with alcohol abuse and drinking substance abuse as far as drinking alcohol and stuff like that. Released, of course, his alcohol oh alcohol-free beer. And in the middle of his interview, he also spoke about ongoing discussions he's having with Marvel. He's and Sony. He's kind of fighting with them for the direction of where Spider-Man goes. He's spoken many times about being an actual fan of Spider-Man. He's in an interview, he spoke on his responsibility to the character and to the fans, and also having to know and navigate when to put his foot down and push for certain decisions on using his power. Which I guess apparently for him is also incredibly hard because obviously even though he's a known actor, he's still a very young actor, and kind of picking and choose your battles, which everybody has to do when they have to go to work. But I guess it's different in Hollywood. Knowing who you are, you can some people kind of push too much and backlash happens. But also not just that, looks like he has a busy film schedule ahead for him. Of course, he's just been cast, or his announced he's been cast in Christopher Nolan's next film, um, which is supposed to go into theaters July 17th, 2026. Beyond that, there has been no comment or no news from Universal, other than he's starring alongside Matt Damon. Um, and also apparently it's announced that the latest Avengers Doomsday, which will also start filming in spring for a May release of 2026. So he's got a very busy schedule. Avengers Doomsday, probably a Marvel Civil Secret Wars, Spider-Man 4, and of course his Nolan project. So he's gonna have a very busy year come 2025 for him. But all well deserved. He's also got a Fred Astaire biopic directed by Paul King in the works as well. So he has a very busy film slate coming out pretty soon for Tom Holland.
Yeah, I'm happy for Tom because Tom is a really good actor, but like I think the projects that he was in, like other than Spider-Man, have been, I don't know, they have not been received well. It's been difficult. So like maybe he just got a new agent. We don't know, but like he just needed a different direction because I feel like he's so talented that he like the projects that he was in it just wasn't giving anything. It wasn't really displaying kind of what he's able to do. So Chris Nolan, that's a big deal. So like I hope that that works out. There's a lot going on in terms of like Marvel Sony commitments.
Mhm.
That Fred Astaire biopic has been in the works for years, so I don't even know if that's getting made anymore, but like it's gonna be a lot to deal with. So I hope that he gets rest because it seems like it's gonna be very busy for him for the next couple of months. But yeah.
Yeah, like his projects look very much like Adam Driver as well. I think Adam Driver is intentional. Like I'm going to work with with amazing directors. This projects have not been well received. Like he did
Yeah.
him in uh Daisy really did it Chaos Walking, and that was production, the mental hell, and the movie turned out bad. And before the Marvel stuff, he did Impossible, which is really unseen project. Other than that, his only 2 to 3 projects of note outside of Marvel are Cherry, which was okay, Devil All the Time, which also had Robert Pattinson, which was an amazing movie, and then the Uncharted picture that he did with Sony, and that was kind of meh. But yeah, I think he's now at a point where he's almost 30. He's like, all right, cool. I have the name. Now I need the resume. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, so good for him. Um, in other news, New York Comic Con is either still taking place or has just wrapped.
Mm.
Don't know. Not sure. But James Gunn was there and he had a lot to say about the new DCEU that he is creating. And he said that it won't be too long before they will all get a trailer for the new Superman movie that's coming out next year. He is doing an he's doing in a live action Creature Commandos.
It's animated. It's about to come
Don't know
out
what that is.
next month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Sorry, I know. I'm aware.
Like,
Sorry.
no, I'm like, tell me because I'm like,
Well, it's kind of Creature Commandos is kind of like a hodgepodge team, kind of what very really unknown, like super unknown characters. Unlike Guardians of the Galaxy, which kind of had a fan base for Marvel, these are largely really unknown characters, which I guess to him he said in the production of it was a personal project for him. And it's getting a animated series on HBO Max. So
cool. Yeah, so that's good. He said that Peacemaker season 2 is already filming and that John Cena is doing a really good job. And he also said that crypto is going to be a huge part of the Superman movie and that David Cornsmith is doing a fantastic job. He's going to blow people away. And Green Lantern, which we just talked about with Aaron Pierre, he said that he wanted to work with Aaron for a long time and that he was almost Adam Warlock from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Hmm.
That is interesting. I never knew that. Okay. And when we first started up DCU with our writers in the first couple of weeks, we came up with the Lanterns concept. So I'm very excited to see him in this. Like I think that he's been a fantastic actor. He's made good choices. So I'm just
Yeah.
like, more power to you, sir. Like, you better do it. And then Supergirl is also coming along. Millie Alcock from House of the Dragon, which they were talking about forever. So like, I'm actually like, when is this happening? But yeah, they're gonna start shooting in January of next year.
Mm.
So lots of things coming down the pike. I am actually excited to see James Gunn's version of like what this new universe is going to be like because I think when you have like a good creative at the helm of something, I just feel like it's going to be better versus like these rando like studio execs and producers trying to make decisions. I think that if he's like given as much authority and reign as it seems like he is, I feel like it'll actually be good. So I trust him for now. I trust him for now. We'll see what happens when things come out. But like for now, it seems like he has a huge love and appreciation for the comics. So like it's gonna be good. And that he's trying to like connect everything that's been going on.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
okay.
I think he mentioned he's gonna make a concerted effort to avoid, like, of course Marvel, they had their own thing doing well, but it was kind of disconnected based on what's going on in animation or what's going on one like either ABC or Netflix and what's going on in the theaters. I think he said he wants to actually whatever we're doing for this run of 10 to 5 years, that everything is interconnected in some way, shape, or form. So looking forward to that. As a fan of these properties, I'm looking forward to that, where the story from watching one cartoon plays a factor in whatever happens in a movie or so on and so forth. So yeah. On a I guess more a sour note, uh Liam Neeson of One Direct not Liam Neeson, sorry, Liam Payne of One Direction fame passed away over the weekend at the age of 33. I apparently he had I guess he passed over a balcony, if I'm correct, in London or England.
Well, yeah. So Liam Payne of One Direction, he unfortunately died because he fell over a balcony in I think it was it Argentina?
Yeah.
No, it was Buenos Aires. Yeah, that's where he was at. So that was incredibly shocking because it's like what happened? Apparently he was taking a lot of drugs and they said that he probably wasn't even conscious when he fell. So it's just like awful, terrible. Fame is so destructive in terms of like how it can like really affect these people. I just feel like, he was famous since he was a teenager.
Mhm.
And for some people, like if you don't know One Direction, Harry Styles, like that was the band that he came from. Zayn Malik, that's the band that he came from. So like to be that famous that young, I can't even imagine what that does to your brain.
Mhm.
So I think that some of the guys were able to deal with it better than others, but it seems like everyone who was in that band was suffering some kind of mental distress because of the fame that they had acquired that early. And unlike Harry Styles or others, like it doesn't seem like he was able to really like branch out on his own and like have this incredible successful career. It seemed like he kind of struggled a little bit. So that could not have been easy either. And Groups are always difficult. I feel like the only group that's kind of okay is Destiny's Child. Like
Mm,
everybody else who was in a group,
yeah,
I'm not sure, but like, yeah, it's a lot to deal with. I'm sure just being in that situation, but the way it affected him obviously was really. It just, yeah, I think he turned to substances. I think 2 years or a year ago, he said that had been in rehab. He was seemed like he was doing better, and who knows what caused these series of events, what triggered them, but it is really sad just to like because he was so young, he has a son, like now the son doesn't have a dad anymore. So it's just like it's just awful all the way around.
and I think also leading up to it, like the week before, like a couple days before this happened, his I guess ex fiance Maya Henry had
Yeah.
issued a cease and desist order against him. And I guess they dated on and off from like 2018. Um, and like she had revealed in like October 2nd, I guess via TikTok, talking about alleged like emotional abuse that she was dealing with from him. Um, and
Mm,
I don't know if these two issues are interconnected and what played a factor. Because I think when they did the autopsy, they found him like overdosed on like a lot of drugs, you
yeah, a
know.
lot.
Um,
Hmm.
but also on her side, whatever issues they had, as a fans, it's not, fandom is weird, and she's been, I guess, being sent to like a lot of abuse. Since his passing, everybody's kind of blaming her, which is unfair. You don't know what
Yeah,
he put her
totally
through,
unfair.
and you
Right.
do not add to whatever she's, because even though the people they're not together, there's also going to be lingering, lingering not affection, but lingering support of this person I was close to is no longer here. And
Right.
so for fans who don't know her personally, didn't know him personally, to now lash out and take out whatever um vitriol out on her is wrong. Like you guys also need help as well.
Yes,
So
absolutely. That's so true. So, yeah, the fan, it's not okay. Like, that's why we have to have a discussion about fans and the relationship between fans and the people who they support. Like, we need to have a deep, all together conversation because honestly, it's getting ridiculous and it's getting dangerous.
these
It already
parasocial
was.
relationships, yeah,
Yes, the parasocial relationships, they've already been bad, like just historically, but now because social media, it's brought people closer. And so I think people feel like they know these people. We don't know them.
mhm,
As much as I love Saoirse Ronan, I don't know that woman. Like, I don't know who she is behind closed doors. Like, we have to, one, understand and respect that like these people are existing in a world that is very different than us. Like the access that they have, the acknowledgement, the fame, the money, like it's very different than how we are living our lives. And so we really don't know what's going on in their lives. Like we have no idea. Like we don't know what it's like to have that kind of exposure, that kind of global exposure for years and like what that does to you. Like that
yeah,
we have to give these people some grace. Like, yes, they can be kind of out of touch and a little weird, but like we have to give them space and grace to just like figure it out. Because I feel like all of that attention, especially when you're already going through stuff, like one thing that I realize is like we think that people who are in the public eye are okay because they have money and they have, fame. But a lot of times they're coming from really tough situations. Like we don't know
yeah,
what their family situation was before they got famous. And that stuff doesn't just change overnight because now you have money. Like you're still dealing with those same struggles. So like people are dealing with a lot of stuff. So like we need to give them some grace. Like we just gotta chill out and just respect them, respect the people who they're dating, especially when it comes to male celebrities. The fandom around them is particularly weird and obsessive. So like, especially for their partners. So like, we need to relax. Like, I know people are upset, and when you're grieving, like you just want to have someone to blame,
mhm,
but like, don't blame these girls. Like you really don't know what they went through. And I'm sure like if your boyfriend has been using substances intermittently, especially
mhm,
the substance that he was using, it wasn't good. It
no,
wasn't good. So like, yeah, back off,
yeah.
basically.
People need to, I don't know. I think these parasocial relationships, like you said, have gotten worse post pandemic when everybody was locked in. But yeah, people, y'all also need to seek help because yeah. But
Yeah. Okay. So, what have we been watching this week?
I was in the prior to recording, I was in the middle of watching Kinds of Kindness. It's
Oh,
your Yorgos Lanthimos project came out.
how do you feel about it? Oh,
It's
sorry.
weird. It's weird. It's weird because it's like I'm not done with it, but so far it's like it's really absurdist picture. It's kind of three stories in one in a way, but it's like three different distinctively thing. I think I'm on in the middle of the second story. Um, but yeah, wonderful movie. I don't think it got attention it deserved when it came out in the States. I think a movie, if I'm looking correctly, made about 16 million worldwide. I think I'm watching it on Hulu right now. Yeah, Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, William Dafoe, Mark Wahlberg, like amazing cast. Hunter Schafer. But yeah, I was just in now in watching the project, I'm like, why did not was it not received? But then most Americans don't like absurdist pictures, So yeah,
Yeah, I think that was the thing. Everyone was like, it's too weird.
yeah.
And I was just like, I need a break. Like after seeing Poor Things, I was like,
I
I
think
need
that's
I need a
why
year.
people between this and Poor Things, people kind of picked one and they went with Poor Things. Emma was in both, so you know what? Hey, whichever one people gravitated to, she would have been fine no matter what. So
Yep, whatever floats your boat.
yeah.
But yeah, let me know how it finishes, because yeah. Okay. Um, yeah, so this week I was watching a lot of sports stuff. I don't know why,
Yeah.
but I started watching the Starting Five because I wanted to watch that. I knew that came out on Netflix. So I watched a couple of episodes. There's a lot. And I was like, I cannot watch all of these episodes. So I watched like four out of the how many are there? 10 or something. And I got acquainted with like the new talent who I don't know who these guys are. So I was like, oh, hello. I have heard of Anthony Edwards, but I didn't hear of the one who was like Drake. I didn't hear about him. So I didn't know who he was. And the white man, I did not know who those folks were. So um that was I did it. But they're young, like they're younger than me, so they're young. So I'm giving myself some grace on that. Like it's okay that I don't know who they are yet.
Yeah.
But honestly, I love basketball. Like it's my favorite sport. I cannot play it at all, but I thoroughly enjoy watching it. Like it's so entertaining. Like it's I think maybe one of the most entertaining sports. Like that and football, like European football, very good stuff to watch. Like
Yeah.
because I watched the Starting Five, and then I went back and I watched Beckham. Like I watched that docu series like a bunch because I find him fascinating. Him and Victoria, I find them extremely fascinating. Like, but also just like his talent and everything. Love watching that. So I went back and I watched that, and then I came back and I watched some more Starting Five, and then I went back and I watched a next episode of the Beckham, and like, um, and then I watched the Redeem Team, which was about the men's basketball Olympic Games in 2008.
Hmm.
Loved that. That was so good. In terms of like documentaries, I feel like the Redeem Team was like a well put together documentary. I feel like the Starting Five was a little, in terms of how it was like edited and filmed and stuff, it was just a little casual,
Hmm.
like a little too casual for me. It was giving a little reality TV for me, which I'm not a fan of. So like it wasn't, I guess it wasn't like that interesting to watch like visually. I think the Redeem Team, because it's an actual documentary, it was just put together well. So like I enjoyed watching it. But yeah, it was so interesting just to see like the history of like men's basketball at the Olympics and like everything that happened, but also just seeing that group of players. I know who those guys are, okay? Like I know all of them. And
Yeah.
that was really I loved watching that and like seeing Kobe play. Like that was I don't know, I felt a little tear came to my eye because I was like, oh God, he's gone. Like it's so sad.
Yeah.
Just like the gift that he was. But like seeing all of those guys play and I think LeBron was like coming up to that same level in 2008. Like, I don't know if he was exactly there. He's not like LeBron that we all know, like the best player in the world or whatever. Like, but he was, he was making his way there. And
That
I was just like, oh,
if I remember that Olympics
exciting.
correctly, that was pre him, D Wade, and Chris Bosh playing in Miami. I think that was the Olympics that sowed the seeds for them to
Ah.
all team up together. But that Olympic team is also is a basketball very interesting for me to watch because like they kind of changed a shift in the guard of basketball where a lot of these guys have been competing against each other since like elementary school. Whereas
Mm.
back in the day, they're like, I'm competing against you, I'm better than you, I'm going to beat you. Where the Redeem team, a large of them have known each other since they're like 12, high school, middle school, playing against each other. And then a lot of them are also friends off the court, which I also think aided in the success of the team. So,
Yeah, it's funny that you said that because that's exactly what they were exploring in the documentary. It was very much like I think the USA had taken for granted that they were like the best in the world and they were going to win all these gold medals, and then at a certain point, I guess in 2004, they lost. I think they lost to Greece. And they were like, "Oh, like basketball is an international sport. Like a lot of people are playing it and they're really good." And those guys who were playing it had been playing together as a group for years. So like the teamwork it was tighter than the guys who were like, who yes, probably grew up, playing against each other, but like we're playing on different teams. Like maybe they saw each other, maybe they didn't, but like they spent 2 years like really getting these guys together and getting them tight so that when they came to the next Olympic Games, the teamwork was seamless. Like everyone kind of knew their role and like were playing their part. It was so good to watch. Like literally just like an amazing documentary. I need to like get ESPN or something
I,
so I can actually watch the games.
I got you. We'll discuss it after we record. I got you.
Okay.
I got you.
Okay.
I got you. Don't worry about that.
Okay. All right. So, but yeah, that's all I watched this week.
If the election is in a couple weeks, November 5th, early voting has kicked off in a lot of states. If you're registered to vote, make sure you're registered to vote. And please, there's a lot of stuff happening in the world, socially, economically, ecologically, with the world. Vote for somebody who's smart and not a failed business person. Who's not a racist or whatever. Vote with common sense and think of if you have kids, think of the future of the planet you want to leave for your kids and stuff like that. I think this is probably I want to say might look based on everything that's happening in the world, probably one of the most important elections. I know it's kind of been said ad nauseum about every single election, but I feel like this election is one of probably the most important elections for our lifetime and our generation. That's about to happen. So
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. I'll say that what Kerry Washington, the great Olivia Pope scandal queen, that what she said, basically she was just like, this is an act of self-love. So if you love yourself, you will vote for someone who reflects the values that you hold dear and who actually cares about you. I know that you're technically not supposed to tell people who to vote for. I don't care about that. Please vote for Kamala. Like Kamala and Coach Walls, like please do it. Like all of our futures depend on what happens in the next 2 weeks. And I just need everyone to know that, like, as you said, everyone says that elections are like, this is the most important election of your life.
Yeah.
This is the most important election of our lives. Like, we might not have another chance to vote if it goes a certain way.
Yeah.
So this is the last time, basically. If what has been said is true, which I believe it is, from Team Trump, there will be no more elections after this. So I think that we have to comprehend that even though, like they said, he's not a serious man, but he has serious consequences. Like he's very dangerous. Believe what he says when he says it. He is not joking. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Yeah, but if you're in a state that the early voting has already started, like please make sure you vote. Make a plan, tell your friends, and get that stuff in early. So I mean, voter registration, I think that's over. So like, but because like to check to see if you are registered, I think that's over. But just make sure you have all your stuff together because people are playing games out here. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. Like they're trying to make voting harder. So like,
Yes.
do
If
what
you
you
have
can.
the opportunity to vote, please vote with common sense. Yeah, like you said, Trump, like his failed businesses, as a genius he is, he gets off scat free, but the wake of damage is left behind and everything he fails. Trump University, people don't have like money back or degrees they supposedly were getting. Trump Town Hall basically shut down Atlantic City. You know,
Mm.
so yeah, there's in all of his failures, there's a wake of damage behind that. And the state the world is in, the state the country's in, really do not need that.
Yeah. We hope that you're doing well and taking care of yourselves. Make sure to check out all of our social media, support us if you can, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Goodbye.
Au revoir.